once again and welcome to the program Lessons from the Word. On this program, you only get lessons from God's holy word. Joining me today to discuss another of the parables of Jesus, we have Pastor Jamal Franklin. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much for having me.
Pastor Franklin is the youth director here at South Bahamas Conference, and he leads a cadre of young people that are second to none. They are the best. Sir, how are the young people of SBC?
Well, the South Bahamas Conference has youth that are academically sound, versatile in their gifts and abilities, not only in the private sector and the public sector, but for community service and for the advancement of the church's mission. And so we have tried our best, and we will continue to improve on our mentorship strategies in the local churches so that the values, the traditions, the beliefs, and the practice of us as Seventh-day Adventists is passed on to a generation that is equipped, engaged, and empowered to finish the work of God, taking His mission to the world in creative ways. We have young people who are doing videos, who are conducting series, who are into music and vlogs, and we are trying to empower our young people to take the gospel in creative forms to their friends, their relatives. When we went to Panama, we witnessed what a number of youth were doing across the world, and I think that has engaged and empowered our youth to really use traditional ways and modern ways to take the gospel to the ends of the world.
We're looking at, you and I are going to look at a parable today, the shepherd and his flock. So my question before we get into the lesson is, can we do more for our young people to assist in this encouragement of them doing their best wherever it is they are and whatever it is they're doing? Can we as a community, a church, do more? And what is it that you would suggest or that you would ask us to do in doing more?
Well, Youth Month cannot just be 1 month of the year. We hope that Youth Month will transpire to be a culture in our churches where youth are placed strategically according to their spiritual gifts and the areas of ministry to work along with the members of our churches that are chosen to serve in different departments. We don't want that only Youth Month is the only opportunity that youth have to serve in their local church. We are hoping that Youth Month changes from just 1 month in the year to a lifestyle of the church. And it makes a church become vibrant. It makes a church become dynamic. It makes a church become relevant and innovative. Because our youth today, we as youth today, despite the generational clashes and the competition and the difference of opinions and the analytical criticism we have towards the Bible and the social justice and issues that affect our community, when you bring both minds together, you realize that we're stronger together than we are apart. And that benefits the church. So we want to see a culture in our local churches where youth are mentored consistently, persistently. We don't want to go to AYs and only see youth. We want to see the entire membership that is present during 11 o'clock divine worship, present at AY service, supporting the youth as they lead out in the worship, and sharing their life stories. Living Faith had an interesting series, Let's Talk Sets, and it was interesting to hear, parents sharing their stories and the way they do things and why they do things and why they say the things they do to their children because of the stories that they would have experienced in their life, and those stories need to be told.
Okay, all right. So let's get right into the lesson in John chapter 10. John chapter 10, verse 18, the shepherd and his flock. It begins off, I tell you the truth, the man who does not enter. Let me read from the King James Version Bible. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that entereth not by the door unto the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. I want to go down to verse 17 where it says, verse 14, sorry. I am the good shepherd and know my sheep, and am known of mine. As the Father knoweth me, even so I, the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd. Therefore doth my Father love me, because I lay down my life, that I might take it again. No man taketh it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay down, and I have power to take it again. This commandment I have received from my Father. Right into the lesson, Pastor. What kind of relationship do sheep have with their shepherds?
The relationship that sheep have with the shepherd is one of honesty, trust, confidence, but interestingly, one of mentorship. When I go back to Isaiah chapter 53, reading verse 3, he is despised and rejected of men, talking about Jesus, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief, and we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. Verse 5 continues to say, but he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. And look at verse 6 and 7. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed, and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep. So here, Jesus is being referred to as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he openeth not his mouth. And the parable, interestingly, tells us and teaches us that the relationship between the shepherd and the sheep is that we trust the shepherd because the shepherd has experienced what sheep do. And that's an irony, because the shepherd is the leader, and he's expected to be above and beyond the sheep. But really and truly, from the narrative of the gospel, Jesus, when he came to this earth, he came as a sheep, and he was slaughtered to save sheep. And now he has that messianic, salvific authority to lead sheep because of what he has done and accomplished in himself by being sacrificed.
Okay.
And the problem, Elder Curtis, is that you would see in the parable that there's a lot of conflict between the sheep, the thief, and the shepherd. And the reason for that is because everybody wants to be the shepherd, but nobody wants to be the sheep. And everybody wants to be the leader, but nobody wants to follow. And the leader, the shepherd, literally has to be the person who sacrifices his or her life to save the sheep. The difference with the thief is that the thief, or the hireling, verse 13, verse 12 and 13 tells you that the hireling, the enemy, will leave and abandon the sheep when danger comes, when the wolf comes. But the good shepherd, in verse 11, says, the good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep. So any person, any elder, any pastor, any director in a leadership position, we are in a position of a shepherd, where we must be willing to lay down our life for the life of sheep. And that is not easy, but that's what servant leadership is. And in many of our churches, a lot of our tension, a lot of our issues come around because of the competition. I want the power. I want to have the say. I don't want to lose my legacy. I don't want to lose my influence. I don't want to lose my voice. But Jesus lost his, but he gave us life.
So who's the thief?
Well, the thief is not just the enemy, but I also would want to suggest the thief is anything in your life that distracts you from the truth. Anything that is preconceived, or any false assumption, because the enemy, what he does is he counterfeits the truth. We have light and we have darkness. We have good and we have bad. We have the good shepherd, and the saying that there's a good shepherd means that there's a bad shepherd. He did not say I'm just a shepherd. He said I am a good shepherd. And if he says the description that he's a good shepherd suggests there are other shepherds, and number two, that not all other shepherds are good shepherds, which means the opposite is that there are bad shepherds. And so the enemy, in his system of counterfeit and the system of distorting God's character of truth, is the enemy who comes to steal, kill, and destroy.
Okay. All right. In this parable, Jesus describes himself, he describes himself as a door or a gate, and as a shepherd. Which ones do you like better?
Pretty much both.
Okay.
He is a door.
Mm-hmm.
He is a gate.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue or the motive or the underlying principle is that Jesus is sufficient for us for our salvation.
Okay, so help us understand the gate method and the shepherd method.
Yeah. Um, the gate method is a gate has two sides. You have outside the gate
Mm-hmm.
and inside the gate. In fact, verses 9 tells us, I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved and shall go in and out and find pasture. Now that takes us back into Psalm 23.
Okay.
Psalm 23 is a text that we often read where
Mm-hmm.
David said, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. But look at what the shepherd does. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for my name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Even verse 5 was interesting. Thou prepares a table before me, the presence of my enemies. Now, he could take you out of the presence of your enemies, but he prepares a table in the presence of your enemies, and he anoints your head with oil, and your cup runneth over while still in the presence of your enemies. Then surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Now, Jesus is a gate in our life when we allow him to come in.
Okay.
All
Only
right.
if we allow him.
Only if we allow him. He can't force his way in. You know, Revelation says, I stand at the door and I knock. And if any man or woman opens up the door, I will come in and I will sup with him and he or she with me. And so the gate is a two-way gate. You are on the inside or you're on the outside, but the only person who has the authority to open that gate is us.
Okay. And the shepherd now?
Now the shepherd, he's a protector of what comes into our gate. The shepherd is a protector of what comes into our door. Psalm 23 does not eliminate the presence of enemies, for example, but the shepherd protects you in the presence of enemies. And we as youth today, we are exposed to so many theories. We're exposed to so many criticisms. You know, recently I just saw a video of a gentleman who wrote the book, I Kissed Dating Goodbye.
Okay.
And he just said that he no longer believes in Christianity and he just got divorced. And so we, as humans, as youth, we are so emotionally unstable spiritually that when we go into the valley of the shadow of death, we start doubting if the shepherd is at the gate. We start doubting the power of the shepherd to guard the door of our heart. But the constant thing is that despite the changing circumstances of life, even when the sheep go astray, one, we know his voice. Two, we hear his voice because his presence never fades. He says, I am with you till the end. I will never leave you nor forsake you. And that is the recurring theme of the parable of the lost sheep.
We're sitting here, we're discussing this, but there's some young person listening via 88.3 or watching us, and they're saying, what are they talking about? It's so rough. Right now, it's really rough, but I have surrendered. I've given my heart. I've given everything to God. What would you say to that young person who is thinking, I'm at my wit's end. I can't find work. Nothing seems to be going right. Someone just texted me this week. Nothing seems to be going right. What do you say to someone like that?
God never promised that everything would go right.
But nothing? Nothing.
In fact, the promises in God's word have always been promises that have been made in tribulation. What we have to experience is that our perspective in the midst of when nothing is going right has to change. It's not always God punishing us. That's the first thing I think.
Okay.
That's the first thing many of us think. It is not because you did something wrong that you are receiving, nothing going right in your life. Number 3, those lessons when nothing seems to be going right in your life, brings out the best in you.
Okay.
It brings out faith and dependability on God. And number four, it may help reroute you from the position or the destination that you were heading in the first place. And, my parents divorced about a year and a half ago. And finally, after being separated for some time. And I said to my brothers, these are situations that can break you or make you. God never promised that you wouldn't have surprising situations in life. But what he said was 366 times in the Bible, fear not, I am with you. But if we don't experience that there's nothing going right in our lives, we will never be able to experience the fulfillment of that promise, to fear not, I am with you. I feel God more with me when nothing is going right according to my plans.
Wow. Okay.
When everything is going right, I sometimes forget to pray for the smallest of miracles.
Okay.
But the moment nothing goes right according to your plans is the moment I wake up extra early to cry out to God because he's my only option.
Okay.
And so to the young person out there who is looking for a job, school is not going good, you're failing classes, you're out of an abusive relationship, you are disengaged with the church, you have lost your way, you're trying to find your way back. I want you to know that after praying, after consulting God, you need to make that intentional effort that whatever you're going through is not going to define you.
Okay.
And that's the same story of the shepherd leading the sheep.
Okay.
Even though they go astray, the going astray does not define the sheep. What defines the sheep is the fact that the shepherd in verse 18 has power. He has power to make or allow nothing to go right, and he has power to resurrect whatever that's been dead in your life. And the moment we realize that the power is in the shepherd, the moment that we submit to the power of the shepherd is the moment that we realize the shepherd has a plan in the midst of nothingness.
Okay. Do you care to share an experience of how Jesus has been a gate or a shepherd in your life?
There's so many.
Tell me.
I think one was in Mexico when I was traveling to a territory called Tamaulipas to conduct a crusade. And I did not go with the group ahead because I had to finalize some work. And I chose to go at night. We traveled in big autobuses in Mexico. And where I was going back then, it was a very dangerous place. It was a stronghold for the drug cartels.
Okay.
And so I was traveling at night, and the bus I was traveling in came under fire. And I'm in the bus. And of course, the driver was hit. So the bus swirled off and came to a stop right in the gully.
Under
off the
fire,
road.
you mean gunshots?
Gunshots.
Okay.
Yeah. And 2 children died.
Wow.
Many people were injured. But miraculously, I survived. And I continued on to my destination when I should have gone back home. And arriving to the church where I was going to preach, do the campaign, 2 children were killed right on the steps of the church. Because in that area of Mexico, the drug cartels use children as lookouts.
Okay.
So if the police are coming, soldiers are coming, they use the children. You're not supposed to shoot children. But sometimes these children look so innocent, they could be carrying guns, bombs, and they get caught in the crossfire. And so we continue the campaign. It was one of the most painful experiences. You could have lost life. You're seeing life lost. But even in the midst of that, I felt as though God was saying, I've called you to give life to those who have no hope. Those children, that's their life. That's their livelihood. And so we planted a church there. Thanks to God, the church has grown. They write me occasionally to show the results of what's happening. They've planted a Pathfinder Club. But when you can lose your life and you're saved miraculously, it kind of changes everything in your head. It changes your plans. It changes your dreams. It changes your expectations. I felt, and I say to Evelyn often, ministry is about choosing to lay down your life for members to be saved. Ministry is not easy. You have to deal with all sorts of issues, and sometimes there's no one to go with your issues. But that's what the shepherd did.
Oh,
All right, just so that sheep can survive, just so that sheep can have a better life. And so God was a gate to me, and He was a door to me. I came out alive, and I was protected in the midst of it all.
okay. All
The
right.
good shepherd never leaves nor abandons.
The scripture also talks about a hired hand or someone who is there to tend the sheep. Compare the hired hand to the good shepherd.
The higher hand is always, I I call them mentors.
Okay.
Every person in life has a mentor. We imitate people in life. We see their Instagram, we see their Facebook. We want to be like them. We live in the gram, that's what it's called. And so we do that because it makes us feel better. It makes us feel as though, even though I'm not where I am in life, because when you go on Instagram, for example, you see guys who are 21 years old, and man, they're living it up. They got money, they got cars, they got girls, they got houses. And the glamour they show makes you feel as though nothing in your life is going right. It makes you feel as though you are far away from what you're supposed to be doing at 21, 22, 25, 29. And so the hireling are people that we often try to place in place of the shepherd. Because look at verse 13. The hireling fleeth, because he is an hireling. The hireling can never replace the shepherd.
Okay.
And so a lot of young people get dissatisfied and discouraged when the people that you think should believe in you abandon you when you need them most. But the shepherd never abandons you.
Yeah.
I keep telling people all the time, I have no expectations of people. None. Because when I have expectations of people, when you come into life and you leave, your whole world is chaotic. But the hireling abandons you because he's the hireling. That's his nature. You can't expect the hireling to be like the shepherd. Never would happen. So if you place your trust in humans, if you place your trust in people you have poured out your heart to, I want you to consider that you can only place your trust in Jesus. Have no expectations of people.
What if, though? What if someone is tempted to follow the stranger? What advice would you give to that person? I know you just said, but what advice would you give to that person who would seem to have followed the stranger, the hireling?
Watch what they do and not what they say.
Okay.
Watch what they do and not what they say. Look at verse 15. As the Father knoweth me, even so know I the Father. Watch what Jesus does, the shepherd. And I lay down my life for the sheep.
Okay.
All
the
the parable is a lot of words.
The fake person ain't gonna do that.
No. Never. A lot of words. Don't watch what they say.
In this parable,
watch what they do.
In this parable, as we end, Jesus said something 3 times. Good shepherd, good shepherd. I have a question. Stupid as it may seem. And I always tell my children, I say it on this television program a lot, that my children are not to ask, they know not to ask Daddy stupid questions. Ask your teacher. So, if Jesus says something 3 times, why? One talk, one short talk, because this is only about 18 verses, and he says, I'm the good shepherd, or he mentions good shepherd 3 times. What is he trying to say?
Repetition is always good in the Bible.
Okay.
Because the one thing that the Lord wants us to remember is that not everyone around you is as good as I am. I am the good shepherd. I am the good shepherd. And I am the good shepherd. Not everybody around you, not everybody in your circle, not everybody that looks or appears to be for you is for you. But I am the good shepherd. Is not just something that he does, it is who he is. And that repetition is an example that this is his character. It is not a show. It is not a performance for him. It is the essence of who he is.
Okay. we've just come out of Youth Month in our conference, our union, our division, actually.
Yes.
And we've had a number of programs. Young people were more involved in church activities than they would have been in a long, all through the year. You said that you want to encourage young people to continue, and you want to encourage older persons to continue to mentor
Yes, please.
these mentees. Uh, Camera 3 is yours. I want you to make an appeal, not just to the church member, the church young person or older person, but to everybody who is listening or watching to come, one, to know Jesus, two, to get involved, three, to invite someone else to come along with them.
My friend, I saw something on Facebook this week that said, Jesus is the most mistreated, unfairly spoken about, abused, judged, and ridiculed person this world and church has ever seen. But he doesn't stop coming to church. He still comes. Whatever you've gone through, wherever you have fallen, I want to say to you, you have a good shepherd who sees the good in you, who believes the best in you, and who is able to restore you to wherever you have fallen. Find a church, any one of our Seventh-day Adventist churches here in Nassau or on the Family of Islands. Get involved, share your story, and remember, he who began a good work in you is faithful to complete it, because that's what a good shepherd does. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Pastor, and continue to do what you're doing. Our young people are having a good time.
Praise the
They're
Lord.
working, not only
Praise the
having a
Lord.
good time, but they're working, they're encouraging others to
Praise
get
the Lord.
involved. They're bringing their friends along.
Praise the Lord.
And I believe that with much encouragement, they will continue to work for Jesus. So continue working for God.
Praise the Lord.
And thank you for joining us on this program. As you would have heard, why not visit us at one of our local churches here in New Providence, Grand Bahama, the Family Islands, and let's continue to get lessons from God's holy word.